Clareburt, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Bro, I'm so pleased we finally made this happen. I went back through our DMs. We've been going backwards and forwards for a while. And just last week, you won the world champs in Doha. And here you are now. It's not every day you get to have a world champion sitting in your bloody spare bedroom.
Could you just turn the faders down a bit? You're peaking.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a little
Actually,
bit.
I'll keep the headphones on for a little bit just to check the sound. 1, 2, 1, 2. Do you want to check yours?
1, 2, 1, 2.
How's that, Max Jackson? Okay.
Easy.
Lewis Clareburt, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Mate, it is an honour to have you here in my podcast room. Just last week, you became a world champion in Doha.
Yeah, it's actually pretty wild to think about that or hear people say that to me. I honestly, coming into this year or sort of this last campaign, I'd never thought that I'd sort of be going into the Olympics as the current world champion. But here we are.
That immediately sounds like a lot of pressure to me. And there is that saying that pressure is a privilege. But how do you feel about that? Like when you think about the Paris Olympics later this year and you having such a big target on your back, does it excite you? Do you have moments where you're just in a cold sweat thinking about it?
I guess I haven't really thought about it too much yet going into Paris. You know, we've still got 6 months. I think it's like 121 days until we leave for our staging camp in Spain. But I guess if I look back to Tokyo Olympics, I definitely did feel a lot of pressure, even though, you know, I wasn't as competitive as I am now. But I think this year will be a little bit different because, you know, I've got one under my belt. I sort of understand how the whole system works, and pressure, like you said, is a privilege. And I think I'm just ready to just swim fast. That's my main priority at the moment. And I think if I swim fast, then, you know, everything else will come with it.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about with you. You just mentioned the Tokyo Olympics, then they were the COVID Olympics where you were at, and you actually blew up on TikTok, became a TikTok star. I think there's one TikTok of you getting a free pair of Asics that's got like 9 million views. So there's that to talk about. The Commonwealth Games where you won a couple of gold medals and you've got a couple of bronzes. There's the drama with you in Wellington, which forced your move to Auckland. So much to unpack in the Lewis Clareburt story. And you're only how old? What are you?
24.
Fuck. Is that sort of, in terms of swimming career, middle age?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I was looking at the ages of just the recent world champs because they usually have your birth date and your entries. And I was probably like one of the older ones in my event. Like there's one guy in 1995, one guy in 1994, and like I'm racing guys 2005, 2006 now, which is weird, and even younger. Even if you look at the girls, it's even younger than that. But yeah, we're getting middle aged in the swimming community right now.
Yeah. But you've got Paris this year. So the next Olympics after that, LA, you'll be like 28, 29. I suppose you haven't thought beyond that, or have you?
To be honest, my plan goes until Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'd love to keep going all the way through to LA, and I mean, see how far we go. But there's heaps of factors that go into, you know, a whole another 4-year campaign. And the first one is obviously training environment. If you can feel like you can sustain a good training environment, funding, how your performance is going, and then the main thing is just if you're having a good time. I mean, I swim in an event where it requires so much energy and focus to actually go into making sure you're swimming fast in that event, that I have to make sure I've got enough energy to actually, you know, push through.
Yeah, and also the amount of like personal sacrifice that goes into that. That cannot be underestimated, and I'm looking forward to sinking my teeth into that. Exactly what's involved in getting to where you are. Okay, first of all, by the way, there might be a lot of dumb questions here from a non-swimmer.
That's right.
First of all, 400 meter individual medley. What is that event? What does that mean?
So it's for Olympic distance. So we have what we call a 50 meter pool and a 25 meter pool. And for the Olympics, we swim in the 50 meter pool. And then there's a whole bunch of, actually there's 3 different lengths of the pool mostly. In America, you swim in short course yards, which is 25 yards. And then we have 25 meters, which is you sort of do that in winter. It's like our winter sport. So you go from summer, which is obviously the 50. The 400 meter individual medley is 2 laps of every single stroke for the Olympic distance.
So you start with
butterfly, and then you go into backstroke, breaststroke, and then freestyle. Yeah, so bring it home freestyle, which is obviously the fastest stroke.
wow. So you have to be good at everything.
Well, you don't have to be perfect at everything, but essentially the guys that are the best in the world don't really have a weakness. Yeah.
Yeah. So did Michael Phelps used to win this event?
Yeah, so he was actually the world record holder up until last year, where someone absolutely thrashed his record. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so for perspective, because I think everyone knows, Michael Phelps, he's one of these sports people that have sort of transcended their sport, and how many medals did he? How many Olympic medals? Like 30 or something?
Something ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, he won 8 golds and 1 Olympics.
Savage.
So, yeah.
So what would what I don't know if you know this information off the top of your head, but what would he do for the 400 meter individual medley, and what do you do?
So his personal best was a 4:03.8, and my personal best is a 4:08. So I've still got 5 seconds. He's still got 5 seconds on me.
Is that a lot? That doesn't sound like a lot.
I mean, it isn't, but it also is. Like, if you look at the pool, I'd be way out of the frame in terms of camera. It's probably around maybe just under 10 meters. Yeah, a little bit less than that. Yeah.
Right. So you're not Eric the Yell?
Not quite.
You're still there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Can you make up that extra time to get to that sort of speed, or is that, you talk about like marginal gains or 1%ers or whatever. Is it feasible from where you are now to shave like another 4 or 5 seconds off that time?
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we look at the race, we split it into hundreds. So each stroke, there's heaps of different factors. There's your speed on top of the water, your speed on under the water. So after every war, you got to do your underwater work, and then your turns, and then just putting that all together, you get an equation, or you put an equation in, you get whatever you put out. And so there's ideal splits for every single 100. So if I wanted to beat that world record, I'd be going out 55 seconds, and then I'd go 102, 110, and then 55 again. So that would give me 402. And then you have loose change, obviously, with the extra splits. So it is a bit of a science experiment when you're working out, putting all these different numbers for each stroke together. And then I look at it usually and I'm like, oh yeah, all those splits, they're super easy to hit in training. And then it's when you put the whole race together.
Right. So, okay, because I can understand in training you can have a coach there or a teammate, shouting out the splits to you. What happens in competition? Are you just sort of like just going balls out, basically as fast as you can, trusting the training, knowing that you've done it in training so you can do it in real time?
Yeah, what's different for every event, like at the World Championships recently, I did the 200s and I did the 400.
200 butterfly, right?
Yeah, 200 butterfly, I did the 200 medley and the 400 medley.
Okay.
For the 400 medley, it's slightly different. It's known as like a middle to long distance event. So for me, I can't just go balls to the wall straight away. Like, you've got to actually pace yourself quite nicely. And like the first sort of 100, 200 meters for me is just like relaxed, easy speed. So I'm going as fast as I can, but not trying to tax my body.
So you've got something in the tank for the tail end.
Yeah, pretty much. And like the way I've swum it over the years has changed a lot. Like, I used to go out so fast in the butterfly. And at the recent Worlds, I went out 2 seconds slower in the first 100. So like there's always like, you're always changing. And I mean, on the day it's different as well. Like, there's so much, I guess, pressure on that one race that like it is scary going in.
Oh, I can't imagine. Like, I love my running, but I've never been competitive. I've never been fast. I've never been good. I'm only ever competing against myself. But the nerves that I get, like I did this thing called the Coastal Challenge on the weekend, just a 22k run from Long Bay to Devonport. I get pre-race nerves for that. So I can't imagine like what it's like. I know I said pressure's a privilege, but fuck, it's a lot. It's a lot, eh? Yeah.
I mean, you'd understand, right? Like, you spend 99% of your time training. and then you do that one run. I don't know, it might be every couple months or whatever. We have maybe 1 or 2 major competitions a year where we have to be in the best shape of our life. We can't be sick. We can't have anything wrong with us. Like, we're essentially, like, you talk about a Formula One car, like, we're a Formula One car. We can't have anything wrong with us going into these major competitions, because it's like there's so much on the line, right? Like, it's pretty much like that's our funding for the year. If we don't swim fast, then see you later. You know, you're not getting paid this year. Yeah.
It's brutal, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's brutal. So, yeah, obviously in Doha, this is the event where you became the world champion, everything went right. But you look in the lead up to it, there's the Wellington stuff, which we'll get into, which was less than ideal. And then didn't you lose your gear bag on the day of the event? Didn't you lose your togs and stuff?
Yeah, so everyone lives in this like one apartment or like this one hotel, and every day everyone would come along and we'd go into the food hall, and we'd all just put our bags on the outside of the food hall, because it's pretty like disrespectful if you bring your bags in or whatever. So we would leave our bags out.
So it's like a games village.
Yeah, pretty much,
Right.
but like for swimming, so it's
Yep.
a little bit, yeah. It's not as nice as like an Olympic village. And yeah, I walk out of lunch and I'm like looking around and my bag isn't where it is meant to be. And I asked whoever the manager is, and it took like an hour and a half to get it back, but it's like an interesting moment where you're like, well, I don't have any goggles. I've got no racing togs. I had one spare racing tog, like one spare set that was like just like my training set. No accreditation. So it is a bit of like it was a bit of a shock, and like
It's just unsettling.
yeah, it is unsettling. But I mean, I trusted that like I was in a pretty safe place. Like there are security cameras everywhere in that place, so I knew that they were just going to check the cameras and it was all going to be good. But yeah, it's like a little bit of an on edge moment.
Yeah. So the race itself, how do you know how well you're going during the race, or don't you have any idea? I suppose if the top seeds in the lane next to you, I suppose you can have them in your peripheral vision.
Yeah, we have goggles that like they're pretty wide angle, so like you can get a pretty good angle. But I mean, butterfly you breathe forward, backstroke you breathe up, and then breaststroke you also breathe forward. So I only rarely see the guy next to me a lot of the time until I get to the freestyle, and then I can sort of look across the pool. There's a huge thing on which side do you breathe for freestyle. So a lot of people will only breathe one side, not two. I can breathe both ways. So I usually would look across the pool one way and then look the same way the next lap, so I've got that flexibility. But yeah, I assumed going into the race that I was going to be quite behind at the end, because there was one guy that he's sort of like the silver medalist, like got second at the last World Championships behind a guy that got the world record, and I assumed that he'd be way ahead. The guy next to me, he was the bronze medalist, and I was in front of him, so I knew I was in a pretty good position. But yeah, I pretty much didn't know until the last 100. Yeah.
Man, and then your celebration at the end. You did, what's it called? Is it a Pukana?
Yeah, Pukana.
Yeah. Was that sort of spontaneous, or was it sort of pre-planned? Were you like, if I win, I'm going to do this?
It was reasonably pre-planned. I sort of talked about it with my coach and some of the guys on the team, because I'd done it. It was my my walkout move. So everyone has to do like a video for the TV production team. So when you walk out, it plays on the screens around the pool. And so that was the move that I did, walking out. And I sort of just thought it would be pretty cool if I could replicate that if I'd won. So most people get up on the lane once if they win the race, and I did that. But I honestly didn't think it would be that big. But I guess because of the All Blacks and the New Zealand culture, like, people love it. Like, we would walk around the pool and be like, people would be asking us, when are you guys going to do the haka? And so I think the world just loved seeing the New Zealand Māori culture on the world stage, especially for a country that, you know, we usually don't perform that well in swimming. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been turned into a cartoon, and it's on a T-shirt now. It looks bloody epic.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Yeah, you seem like I don't know if prankster's the word, but like just really lighthearted. Like you, at the Paris Olympics, at the Tokyo Olympics, you did a mano into the pool, and then there's the TikTok stuff. You get in trouble for any of that, or as long as you're swimming well, does everyone just leave you the hell alone?
Definitely mixed reviews. I am, like you said, I like to be lighthearted. People see me as like this real serious guy, and my humor is actually quite serious, but I'm, not as serious as people think. It does get me in trouble for sure. Yeah.
Because I feel like like the TikTok stuff, which was I think it was bloody great. Like it just gives everyone, and we'll get to that in more detail later, but it just gave everyone sort of an insight into a side of the Olympics that I guess we never see. But was that Commonwealth Games?
It was Olympics, yeah.
Olympics, yeah. And in the Commonwealth Games where you won like 2 gold medals, as long as you're getting the results and everything's going well, I suppose everyone's going to sort of give you a wide berth. But as soon as you're doing that stuff and not getting the results, that's when people will blame the non-results on the other stuff, potentially.
Yeah,
which
I think
is unfair,
so.
But...
Yeah. I mean, like, if you're like you said, if you're racing well, like, everything's good. You're
whatever
sailing.
you're doing,
keep
doing
it. I mean, it was a little bit different in Wellington. Like, I did have a lot of restrictions around like what I could do with filming and stuff like that, and it pretty much like whatever the restrictions they had was just like it meant that I couldn't do anything, so I just gave up on it. But it was really fun. Like I had such a good time doing all that sort of stuff, and I mean, like when it's going viral, like you're having a good time regardless because people are viewing it. You're getting awesome comments, like people, everyone was loving it.
Yeah, I feel like you need like a stress relief. Like otherwise, what do? You just sit there getting in your own head for days on end, overthinking the event. It's probably a nice stress release. Okay, so like the Doha thing, the World Champs, for that, and I suppose the Olympics and Commonwealth Games, run through like an average final day, like from start to finish.
Yeah, so for me, like I'll arrive at the pool 2 hours before I'm set to race. They're pretty regimented on like when you're racing, so. Like I think I was at like 8:32. My race was planned to be, so I'll get there like 6 o'clock, just after that.
In the evening.
In the evening, yeah. So we race pretty late.
What do you do all day?
We sleep, eat. Like I sat in my room. I had my own room, so I was a bit of a loner over there. I just sat in my room and did nothing, pretty much the whole afternoon. I actually had to order food out because the food hall only opens at a certain period, and I was already going to be on the way to the pool by the time that happened. So I ordered food out, and then you do the bus ride over, which is like 30 minutes. And then when I get to the pool, it's sort of, you click into like this timeline that I create or my coach creates, that we all sort of get.
Structure and routine. Very
structured, down to like the minute sort of thing. So I'll do 30 minutes of stretching, pre-activation. I do around an hour of in-water warm-ups, so it's around like 3 kilometers maybe. And then...
By the way, for most people listening to this, it's a big swim.
It is, yeah. It's a decent amount, like especially like towards the end of the competition when you're getting tired, you actually need to do more rather than less to get the body awake. And then I'll probably maybe 30 minutes before I'll have like a sports gel, has a bit of caffeine in it, and then you have to put your race suit on. Usually takes 15-20 minutes because they're tight.
They sort of look like bike shorts.
Yeah, there's like jammer style. They go just above the knee, and my ones can go like quite high around my hips.
Why do they take so long to put on?
Because they're just like skin tight. They're essentially meant to stop drag, right? So they have to be pretty flush with the body. And they're, especially when it's hot, you can sweat while you're putting them on. So, yeah.
So you're like naked in the changing rooms trying to get these things on for a quarter of an hour.
Yeah, pretty much. we usually put the towel around us and we're whipping them on. But yeah, it's probably the worst part of the preparation when you have to put your suit on.
By the way, that's the most mind-blowing thing for me so far. Really, quarter of an hour to get some togs on.
Yeah, and crazy. the girls are even longer. Like some of the girls are in there for half an hour, even more than that.
What are the girls? That's just like a swimsuit, isn't it?
They've got the same.
Okay.
But then their ones go all the way up and over their shoulders.
So it looks like a sort of a triathlete suit.
Yeah, exactly like a triathlete suit. Yeah. But they sort of because they're so tight on the girls, most of them will only put the shoulder straps on like just before they walk out, because they're super uncomfortable for them.
So you don't train in that suit?
No, we just train in sort of
Yeah.
budgie smugglers, yeah.
Okay, and you how do you psych yourself up? You listen to music, or are you just sort of meditating? What are you doing?
Bit of mixture. I've changed things over the years. I've just do whatever I want pretty much, but I talk to people in the marshalling room. There's a few really good guys that I race against that we have a good yarn. This year I listen to music, D&B, it's pretty good. Bit of rap as well. I went to America over December and got into rap.
Did you?
Yeah, because that's what I listen to. They don't listen to
Whereabouts in America were you?
Arizona.
All right.
Yeah. It's a whole different music scene over there. I had sort of like eye-opening, yeah. But it was cool. And then you go into marshalling like 20 minutes before you race, and then you just sit there, just waiting.
And then they do the the call out thing,
Yeah.
swimmer by swimmer, where they sort of introduce you and stuff. What are you feeling at that point? Are you just like amped and ready to go, or are you shitting yourself?
Sometimes I'm tired. Like the start of the week, I got really tired because I was racing a lot. But by the time I got to 400 medley, I was just like energy rushing through me. Yeah, like I was pumped walking out. I think I was a mixture of angry and ready to swim fast. Like I'd missed the qualifying time for the Olympics twice, or actually 6 times before actually 7 times walking before I did the 400 medley final. So I really wanted to make sure that I'd qualified at the World Champs. And so I was just ready to go.
Man, that is so cool. And everything went well.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a personal best. Like I didn't swim lifetime best. But in terms of when you get into that championship final, like you throw the time out the bag, like it's just racing. And I mean, to come away with a gold medal and to be New Zealand's second ever person to win a world championship gold medal, and it was in sort of 1 week where we got both of them, was pretty special.
Who is New Zealand's best male swimmer ever? Would it be Danyon?
Yeah, I think so. Danyon, we've got Lauren Boyle. We have quite a few like historically, really good swimmers.
Yeah. Is that, I don't know if you want to say this out loud, but would that be your goal, to be New Zealand's best ever male swimmer?
I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never really thought about it like that. I mean, we've always seen Danyon, the guy that won, I think he won 2 golds in one
Atlanta,
Olympic
I think,
Games.
in the late 90s.
Yeah.
And
And
that was before you were born, right? Like the year.
yeah. So like we've always seen that as unachievable. Like we don't think, well, in my eyes, like I don't think anyone could ever do that again. I mean, but you never really know, right? Like we could, but I've always seen that as unachievable. Yeah.
Okay, well, that gets us up to speed with where we are now. So let's loop all the way back to the beginning and then work our way through the Lewis Clareburt story. So early years, when did you start swimming?
Honestly, I'm not sure. Like, mum and dad threw me in the water at 3 to learn how to swim. Dad was a clubby, so he did surf lifesaving. He's from Palmy North as well, actually. And he got me and my 2 older sisters into swimming because he was never very good at swimming in the surf lifesaving scene. And he reckoned that he'd be like the best ever surf lifesaver if he just knew how to swim. So that's why he got me into swimming. Yeah.
I don't know if there's much of a surf lifesaving scene at Hamatangi.
Yeah, that was his local surf club, yeah.
Was it actually?
Yeah.
That's a hell of a beach. It's like a state highway. Like you have cars like zooming along the beach.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So it's like one of your earliest memories then, just swimming. What other sports did you do?
Everything.
Yeah.
I was running, golf. I was a bloody road cyclist, North Island champion.
Were you? What age?
Year 8, so 14.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why did you give that away?
I just chose swimming. Yeah.
So you sort of okay. So you weren't one of these kids that was doing like 6 a.m. swimming school all through.
Not really. Like I would be busy every morning and every afternoon with sport, whether it was swimming or other sports. Like I did rugby as well. But yeah, like I sort of just, mum and dad were like, you just do whatever you want, do everything. And then later down the track, you can sort of choose what one you you want to do. And swimming sort of picked me, I guess, because I was reasonably good at it. And with success, that is fun. So I just kept going with swimming and sort of slowly dropped everything else.
That's such good attitude by your parents.
Yeah,
it's
I'm pretty
really
lucky.
Cool. Yeah,
Mum and Dad they're pretty awesome. Dad asks me too many questions nowadays about swimming.
What do you mean, like what?
He loves swimming now. He's more knowledgeable in swimming than I am. But especially because now that I'm not in Wellington,
Right.
he doesn't have that sort of daily, we don't cross paths every day. So he loves asking me questions, anything swimming. Yeah.
I suppose, asking you questions is better than like telling you. Like, messaging you, hey, this one went well, but you could have done this better. Or
Yeah. They've always been good at that. Yeah.
So, 'cause swimming's, I'm intrigued by the sport. Like, I've never been a swimmer, but all my cousins were, and the amount of training that goes into it, you can see why people end up dropping off, because for every Lewis Clareburt, there's probably like, I don't know, another 5,000 swimmers that are going to the pool at 6 a.m. with their parents and going back to the pool in the afternoon and never making it to the sort of level you have. In terms of training, it's a hell of a commitment, eh? There's so much work involved.
Yeah, it is. And like, if you want to be the best, like, you can't have anything missing, right? Like, you have to do everything right, pretty much. Like, there's a few guys that would get away with not doing everything, but I mean, for me, and especially in my event, like, we have to do everything right. We can't miss one session. If you miss a session, that's someone else that's got one extra session over you. So like we're pretty. It's high performance to the peak. Yeah.
How tuned in with Michael Phelps are you, and the Michael Phelps story and training ethos and all that?
I think growing up a lot.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I don't really like to think about too much. I mean, like, I'm always learning. I think most elite athletes, the best in the world, are constantly learning about how other people do things. And I've used, I guess, a lot of his theories and what he does. I've tried to bring them into what I do. Like, the way he used to eat was incredible, right? Like, everyone used to see how much he ate. I don't think I could physically eat that much ever, but like, fueling is like a huge factor and like a component. Yeah.
But he was like a training savage. Like, I saw a clip on YouTube of him talking about his reason for training 7 days a week, and it's a thing called compounding time. And he's like, if my opponent's only doing 6 days a week, by the end of the year, I've got 52 more days training under my belt than what they have. And when I heard that, it did make me think of you and the lockdown phase. Fuck, that must have been tough. So you couldn't train in the pool. Your potential future opponents in other parts of the world, they're back in the pool training, or they never had like training restrictions on. What was that like? Was it a good reset for you, or was that like mentally really tough?
I think it was a good reset for sure. Like, I never really had any time off. Like, even since lockdown, I haven't really had any proper time off. But it was tough. Like, I mean, when you train 22 hours plus per week, and then suddenly you go from doing that to doing nothing, like, what do you do with your time? I had all the time in the world to do whatever I wanted. I played PlayStation like 12 hours a day. Like, I literally just turned into a hermit, doing nothing. But it was good, things like that. I mean, for short periods of time, right? Like, it was reasonably long, but for short periods of time, things like that happen, they just make you hungrier. Like, you feel like you're missing out, so you want to do more to try get yourself back on track. And I think it just made me more motivated to get back onto the training regime. And I was lucky. I actually had a family in Wellington that had a endless swimming pool in like their house. So they
you're like a big spa pool that it's got you're swimming against the thing.
Yeah. So when like the levels allowed, I don't know what level it was during the COVID, they let me come in and do a bit of swimming every day for like an hour. I cranked the thing so high that every now and then I'd short circuit the whole house. So it was sometimes I hit the limit. Yeah, which was cool. And I did the same actually. There was last year I went to the new Institute of Sport in Wellington, and we had the flume or the endless swimming pool going max speed, and I short circuited the whole building. Yeah, in front of
I
hurricanes.
feel like you're
yeah.
saying this almost like a badge of honour.
Yeah,
Which
it is. It is an honour.
Yeah. So how much of what you do is like natural talent, and how much of it is hard work? You mentioned just before 22 hours a week training. Is it like a combination of both, or is it way more just hard work than natural talent?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, right? Like I think with swimming, you can get to a certain point as an age grouper with natural talent, and then once you get to like I guess when you leave high school, like you're pretty much the guys that are the best mostly know how to work hard. But yeah, like natural talent, I think is probably a pretty big component. Like I think I grew up with the feel of the water. Like technique is huge in swimming. Like if you're efficient in the water, then you're good to go. And I think I was probably like naturally had a lot of that. And that's probably because I grew up in the water. You know, Dad was a clubby in the surf, and we always used to go surfing and stuff. So I was sort of just born into it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So what does an average week look like? You mentioned 22 hours.
Yeah.
How's that broken up?
Well, say it's Tuesday now, right? I've done 21 Ks in the pool so far, and I've got one more session this afternoon. But we do, like, we sort of split the week up into two, Monday to Wednesday, and then Wednesday to Saturday. And so I do 2 swim sessions on Monday with a gym session, and then Tuesdays 2 swims, Wednesday 1 swim and a gym, and then the afternoon you get the afternoon off. So it's like your reset. Then the second half of the week you do 2 Thursday, a Friday swim, and then gym, and then depending on who you are, you might do another swim. So I'm adding another swim in on Friday, and then Saturday morning is like your final session of the week, and that's like your hardest, the best session of the week. Yeah.
Oh my God. What does a hard session look like in terms of distance or intensity?
Bit of mixture of both. Yeah, distance, intensity, and short rest. Yeah. So if you add all those together, then you've got a recipe for a pretty hard session.
So do you know what you're doing before you, like, have you got an app from your coach or a diary from your coach, or do you just turn up and he writes it on a whiteboard? How does it work?
Yeah, I come to the pool and I get handed a piece of paper, and that's when I find out what I'm doing. Yeah. My old program, it used to be pretty regimented. I used to be able to sort of guess what I was going to do that day. You know, we had those key days where there'd be key sessions. But moving into this new program up here in Auckland, it's like every day is a surprise. So I sort of have to prepare the same for each session.
Do you like that, or are you full of anxiety driving to the pool?
I quite like it. You know, I think if I knew going in like what I was doing, it would give me more anxiety. But because I don't really know, then I've only really got like 2 or 3 minutes before I get in the pool to have that anxiety attack, and then do it. Yeah.
The lead in.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so. I don't think people would understand it, like, you know, or comprehend just how much work goes into it. You must just be exhausted all the time. It makes me super appreciative that you're here this afternoon in between sessions.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's tough, and you know, I think I was saying before, like, the best way for me to explain it is probably not a very good way to explain it. Is I'm pretty much a vegetable 99% of the time. Like I have like very low energy because we're heading, you know, we're redlining most of the time we're here. Like, well, we're swimming, and I mean, in my opinion, like there's like where you're getting sick. There's like this bar here, and then we sit just below it. So we're pushing just below breaking point. Yeah, so we're pushing just below breaking point during a in season. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see why you only do it like Olympic cycle by Olympic cycle, and you don't want to think. Michael Phelps, I read that he was 11 when he like wrote a 12-year plan for his life, and it's like I don't know how you can do that, because it's the sacrifice involved. It comes at a huge personal cost, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think my family probably feels it more than me.
Yeah, in what way?
I mean, I'm traveling a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now I'm not in the same city as them, and it's hard to get home to see them because, you know, I guess I'm swimming most of the week, and it's actually hard to, you know, find time to come back. And travel is I mean, it takes up energy, right? Like if I do a weekend trip and then I'm having to get back in the pool, can be tough. But yeah, like I do have to sacrifice a lot of that time and social time as well. But also, like, I choose this life, right? Like, I enjoy it. This is fun for me. I'm challenging myself every day. Like, I think if, like, for an everyday person, like, I just set goals and I'm chasing after them and it's keeping me busy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good attitude. There's a podcast I really like. This guy called Jay Shetty. Have you heard of Jay Shetty?
No.
He's like he put out a really good book called Think Like a Monk, and it's about one thing he talks about is rephrasing things. So if someone says to you, "Hey Lewis, do you want to come to a party tonight?" You could say, "Oh, I can't. I have to go to training." But his way of rephrasing it is saying, "I get to go to training." Like turn it into a positive rather than negative, and rather than you missing out on something. But do you have much of a social group? Do you have any friends outside of swimming or anything? Or
Yeah, I have people like, I mean, I've got heaps of friends that like, you know, that I catch up with all the time. Most of the time it's just for coffee or lunch or whatever, because, you know, I have to eat anyway. But yeah, like a lot of my circles are swimmers, you know, guys that I train with day in, day out. I'm pretty lucky that, you know, the guys that I swim next to are some of my best mates. And the guys that I compete with around the country are also my best mates. So, you know, we all sort of live similar lifestyles. Obviously, a lot of us are different stages of our career. But yeah, like we have so much fun during the day, during training and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that makes perfect sense, because I think in any sort of like working environment, you sort of become friends with the people that you spend most of your time with, right? So it makes perfect sense. But for example, your 21st birthday, what did that look like?
Well, I was actually meant to have a 21st birthday, but it was so the Olympics just got cancelled. And so I was like, sweet, I'm going to have a 21st. And then I was like a week out from having the 21st. It was meant to be like a normal 21st, you know, like do all the normal stuff. And then like the week of the 21st, COVID lockdown happened in Auckland. So all my Auckland mates couldn't come down, so we had to cancel it. But I still had like a little get together, but it was just like any normal 21st, even without the Aucklanders, yeah.
So you've never been like a big partier or a big drinker or anything like that?
No, not overly. Like I don't really like alcohol. Like if I'm...
That's good.
Yeah, like, I mean, I like some things. Like there's obviously the RTDs that you drink and they're just like drinking juice. But yeah, like I'm on two spectrums, right? Like I'm either drinking nothing or I'm drinking everything and I'm ending up in the gutter sort of thing. So like... And I don't do that often, and that might be once a year.
So you'd be a super lightweight, wouldn't you? Like I'm imagining after the Commonwealth Games where you won like 2 gold medals and a bronze, you having a massive bender after that would be 3 beers, wouldn't it?
Yeah, if that, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's awesome. What would your girlfriend say about? So you mentioned before your girlfriend moved from Australia to be with you, and now she's stuck in Wellington, and you've moved from Wellington to here. What would if she was here in the room? What would she say that you're like to be around like during the week? Are you in between swimming sessions? Are you grumpy? Are you like a bear with a sore head? Or
good question. We should actually get her in. She's up here at the moment. But I think like a mixture. You know, sometimes I'm just tired. A lot of time she's into walking and running and stuff. She'll want to go for a walk. I can walk into a certain point and then I get tired, so I'll either get on my bike and walk next to her, or like bike next to her.
You get tired from walking?
Yeah, mate, I was tough. Yeah, I actually, the world doesn't know this, but whenever we go to competitions, like walking is huge for swimmers, so we try and minimize as much walking as possible, and even weight on our shoulders. So you know how most people have a backpack? We go to the extreme of taking our suitcases to the pool. So we minimize full weight off our body.
Is that overthinking it, or is that one of those like marginal gains?
I think it's just one of those marginal gains.
Wow.
Yeah, because like when you're in a village type scenario, you are walking a lot. You're walking to the buses. You're walking from the bus to wherever you're going. You have to walk to the food hall. You do a lot of additional walking that you wouldn't normally do during a normal week of training. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose it's easy to without even thinking about it, get that step count up, hey?
Yeah, for sure.
But still going for a stroll with your missus, come on.
Yeah, like that's
no
easy.
need to jump on a lime scooter then, mate.
Yeah, non-negotiable, I guess. I do have to do it, yeah. But I think, yeah, like you said, like I think I am sometimes a mixture, you know, happy, sad. like the week of that competition at the World Champs, like I went the greatest high at the end, and I had a roller coaster effects before that. I think even if I asked her how she thought I was feeling throughout the week, she would have said, yeah, he ended up being really happy, but the 3 days before that, I was down in the dumps. I was pretty upset with myself, and yeah, to turn it around, she probably would have thought she was pretty proud of me. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, sitting in front of you now, it's the first time we've met. We've been talking for 40 minutes. You can put on a mask, and even though you've swum 21 Ks in the last 2 days, you can put on a mask and be pleasant. But for someone that knows you intimately, you tend to drop that mask, so she gets to see the real unfiltered you. How has your mental health been? Is it pretty good?
Yeah, I think it is. I went through probably a period last year where it was not very good. I mean, when you're
the Wellington stuff, which we're yet to get to.
Yeah, it sort of started when I didn't swim so well last year at our key event, and I had to change a few things to get myself back on track. And I feel like you don't really sometimes know that you're struggling until you have a moment. And I had that moment last year where I was like, actually, I'm probably not in a good space right now. I wasn't putting in 100% of my effort to make sure I was being a fast swimmer. And that's when I sort of, I guess, made the decision that I was no longer going to take crap from people around me in my environment. So that's maybe when I started burning a few bridges with the Wellington City Council and those sort of things. So
yeah. By the way, I'm firmly Team Lewis.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. But what was the moment in particular where you realised, oh shit, it's not where it should be?
I just swam like shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like real shit. I mean, it wasn't real shit, but it was shit. And I thought I deserved more. And yeah, I just had a realisation of, you look back on that previous 6 months of what you were doing on a day-to-day basis, and I didn't think it was good for me, and I wasn't happy with it. I wasn't happy with myself. Yeah.
Have you been to a sports psychologist, or you had access to one over the years?
Yeah. I've had a couple.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy talking with them. I do find it really tough for me as myself to get deep and to really express my feelings. There's a lot of guys that I train with that are really open and can easily talk about how they feel, but I sort of can't.
You got walls up?
Yeah, walls up, but I try to drop them, but I don't know how to share. Yeah, so it is interesting. Yeah,
that is interesting. Yeah, it's vulnerability is a really big word these days, and it's I'm probably about the same age as your dad, so we grew up in a different generation where you just didn't show any sort of weakness, but you like to think it's getting better. But I suppose often it comes down to personality type. You just you feel comfortable sharing that stuff, or you don't. I'm trying to get better at it because I understand how important it is, and it's really cathartic as well.
Yeah. I mean, my dad's probably similar. He's a tough man. And I feel like I'm probably pretty similar to him, even though I don't like to say that, but yeah, it is tough.
Yeah. Oh, good on you. Okay, so we'll go to the first Commonwealth Games. So they were the first Commonwealth Games you went to. They were the Gold Coast ones. So you were how old at the time? Were you still at school?
I just left school, 18. So I'd been out of school 3 months.
That's crazy, eh? Crazy. So you go from just leaving school to being a bronze medal. You've got a bronze medal at those games, right?
Yeah. And I wasn't even meant to be there. I wasn't selected on the team in the original announcement. And it was you're not on the team, but we could find you a spot just before the games. And this is when I was like, all right, well, I finished school, so I want to go to R&V and do all the festival, normal finish school type stuff. And then they were like, when the announcement happened, they were like, obviously, didn't make team, but you could make it. So I was like, all right, so do I train like I'm going, or do I just go to the normal school stuff? And they were like, well, you probably got to train like you're going. So I spent the next however many months just training as if I was going, and then I was lucky enough to obviously get that call up. And I knew if I got the call up, I didn't want to be not prepared or not take that opportunity for granted. And I was just lucky that I just grabbed it with both hands and went in to the games. Obviously, no one knew who I was. I'd never properly done an international competition and managed to snag the bronze, which was pretty cool for me.
Yeah, that was amazing. What was that like for you? Suddenly you go from you being on nobody's radar to, I suppose, getting a bit of media coverage back home, a little bit of recognition and stuff. Did things feel any different when you came back? I'm guessing in particular in that sort of pool environment.
Yeah, I felt like a superstar, eh?
Did you?
Honestly,
Yeah.
I thought my life would change. I thought I was going to be a millionaire.
Well, welcome to high performance sport, buddy.
But yeah, it was cool. Like, I was like the man in the group, you know? Like, I was the guy, yeah. I was rolling around with the bronze medal. I actually had to go back and do like our nationals after, which was like the week after. And yeah, it was pretty cool. Like, I loved sharing that moment with all my mates. You know, I was probably the only one in my age group that had qualified for the games at that point. But yeah, it was so much fun just coming back and like sharing that experience with everyone.
Were you a Commonwealth Games family growing up? Because I feel like there's two sorts of families. Families that Commonwealth Games isn't really a thing, and families where it is. Like, I was a massive Commonwealth Games household growing up.
Yeah.
So I understand the importance of it. But a lot of people, they're sort of like, meh, Olympics and nothing else.
We used to love it, eh? Olympics, Commonwealth Games, those, like, we were glued to the TV. And I mean, we had sort of personal connections because I swam a lot of the time next to the guys that were going to the Commonwealth Games in Wellington. There used to be a high performance unit down there. And I remember watching Gareth Keane, who's like a New Zealand record holder in the 200 back, and I think he still has a lot of those records. And he got a silver medal. And I mean, I just used to idolize guys like that. And that was probably part of the motivation to be like, yeah, I want to do that. And so, yeah, that was cool being able to grow up next to those guys.
So that bronze that you got when you were 18, what did your parents do with that, or what did you do with that?
Like the physical medal?
Yeah.
It's in Wellington. I think it's in my little townhouse still in Wellington, just hidden in a corner somewhere. I do love. It's actually
not in a sock. So it's on display somewhere, not in a sock drawer.
No, it's not on display. Yeah, it's like literally in probably a sock drawer sort of thing.
Oh,
yeah. No, I have a box of international medals that are like I sort of know where they are that I usually pull out. But that is probably still to this day my favorite medal and medal box, just because it was so special to me to be able to get that one.
Yeah, that must have been a crazy feeling, those games. So there you are, like fresh out of school, basically there as a tourist. Like, no one's expecting anything. I don't know if you were expecting to do that well yourself, but no one else was expecting you to do that. And then you're in that environment, and were you sort of like fanboying a bit?
Yeah,
being in the New Zealand, yeah.
Like I was rolling up to the village and I was seeing all my idols, and I was like, yeah, I'm one of the boys. Like, I'm because when you're in the games environment, you have sort of like the Team New Zealand apartment complex, and so everyone's in the same building, and you know, everyone meets down the bottom where there's like New Zealand snacks, and like there's Team New Zealand guys, and they look after you, and it's a whole lot of fun. And I was on the team with Sophie Pascoe, and she was like the legend, you know, she is the legend of swimming in New Zealand, especially Paralympic swimming. And like I was chatting with her every day, like it was the coolest thing ever. And so, yeah.
What sort of chats with these people? Like picking their brains about different bits and pieces, or? Yeah,
I guess so. And just life chats. We have these things, this thing called a lift chat. So every Olympic Games,
what do you do?
You have a lift chat, and it's like, oh, how you going? What event you got, or when's the final, and you know, that sort of thing. And it's usually only like maybe 10 seconds, because you know that's how long the lifts last. Yeah. So that's like the lift chat. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And did you form any like firm friendships with anyone? I've had Sam Tanner, the 1500 meter runner, and Hamish Kerr, the high jumper, both on the podcast, and they sort of they met at one of those events, Olympics or Com Games, and like broed out pretty hard. You met anyone that you've become like firm friends with?
Over the years for sure. David Leety, probably he's a weightlifter. He's like, I remember him for like.
It's a very unlikely pairing.
Yeah. Like I mean we've only met like maybe 3 times, but like we're like best friends on Instagram. Well, I reckon we are. But I remember him being at the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games, and I thought he was like an absolute legend, because he used to roll around with like a strap around his thing with like the speaker, and he'd be like the team DJ. It's like all the bus rides and stuff. He'd be rolling the tunes and stuff. So I thought he was the man. And then a couple of years down the track, like we're sort of good mates now. So it's pretty sweet. Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool. And then, okay, so that was the Com Games, your first experience at sort of an international event, and then there was the Olympics, which, in hindsight, given this is the beginning of your career and you've got Paris and whatever's beyond that, it's probably an exciting thing to be involved with because there's never going to be another Olympics like that. You wouldn't think in your lifetime, like the COVID Games.
Yeah, it's wild, right? Like, I mean, I'm not sure what a normal Olympics is like because I've never been to one.
Yeah.
But you could see the potential and you could see how big it would have been. But yeah, it was cool. And I think that was one thing that was incredible was that brought the whole New Zealand team together because we couldn't do anything. Like we were just stuck. We're pretty much stuck in our apartment complex during the non-competition times. So we did, I feel like, form quite a lot of relationships with just like the New Zealand team. And I remember talking to Hamish Bond. It was the first time I'd properly met him. And he comes up to me and he's like, Lewis, you're a lot smaller in person. And I was like, cheers, mate. Like, thought I was this big dude, but no, I'm skinny, man. he's not big himself as well.
No, especially not standing next to Eric Murray as well.
Yeah.
I've never met him. Is he? You're quite tall. Is he shorter than you?
He's definitely shorter than me. He's probably got a bit more like muscle, but yeah, he wasn't too big himself.
Feels like a mind game in a way.
Yeah,
saying it to someone that's taller than you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Was that a good experience at the Olympics?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, like you probably saw it on TikTok, social media.
Yeah.
Like I sort of tried to make the most of it. I mean, the main reason why I did so much social media stuff is because when I used to watch the Olympics, you know, these guys would be having McDonald's and stuff, and they never really used to show much. Like you'd see maybe the photo, but I guess with the Tokyo Olympics, like videos were a thing and TikTok had just sort of hit the charts and everything. So I was like, well, little kid Lewis 10 years ago would love to see this, so I'm going to share it. And that's just sort of how it all kicked off. And I think, I was just trying to show the little Lewis what I was doing.
Yeah, well, and also, Big Dom here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it really resonated because, as I said earlier, it's like a peek behind the curtains that 99% of us never get to see.
Yeah.
You know, and I've always been intrigued about the layout of the food court at the Olympics and things like that, and it was an interesting peek behind the curtain. But your biggest TikTok from those games was you lining up for a free pair of Asics. Yeah. Like 9 million views. That was quite alarming that had so many views. Yeah. Why do you think that resonated so much?
Everyone loves free shit, you know. And I mean, I'm not no different. Like I love some free shit. Honestly, the shoes were the worst shoes I've ever, like. I don't use them at all. They were like slippers. They weren't even proper shoes. But like the idea of like getting them custom fitted and all that sort of crap was like, I think people just like were like, damn, that is so cool. But honestly, the experience wasn't that cool. Like it was pretty like you got your foot scanned on the scanner, and then it just determined what size inner sole you got. Everyone got the same size shoe, but it was just the inner sole.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was pretty cool. And I mean, I was filming it and I was like giggling to myself because I was like, this is going to go viral no matter what. Yeah. So it was quite funny. It was a fun experience.
Yeah. Was it that the games where they had the wooden beds? The cardboard beds?
Yeah.
They were actually made of cardboard?
Yeah. So it was funny. I was on TikTok. I was known as the official bed tester of the games. So I did like this whole brand deal with TikTok being like the official bed tester. It was quite cool. But yeah, the beds were interesting. They were strong. I mean, David Letty slept on one and didn't break it. So obviously there's not a problem with issues. They even had a bed extension. So if you're a basketball player, you could throw another couple meters on the end of the bed and you're good to go. Yeah, so it was amazing. It was cool.
And did you, due to the nature of the games being the COVID games, I don't know if you have any cool stories, but anyone that's been to the Olympics, I ask about the cool Olympic stories, if any. I think the winner so far would be Susie Bates. You know Susie Bates, New Zealand cricketer?
No.
Yeah, New Zealand cricket legend. But when she was like, actually probably similar age to what you were at the Com Games, she was 18, 19, she went over playing... basketball for New Zealand, and the bunch of the girls ended up on the bus with the American Redeem team.
Huh?
So they went out partying with like LeBron and Kobe. Ended up in a booth with David Beckham as well. I think that's the pinnacle of Olympic stories so far. Did you have anything, or everyone walking around with a mask on, so you couldn't tell who was who?
Yeah, I guess probably the main story I probably shouldn't talk about, just because
That's the one we want.
Yeah, that's the one you want. But another one that I'd openly talk about was on like the last night of competition. You're not allowed to drink, the COVID games you weren't allowed to drink, but we actually managed to sneak in like a bottle of vodka. And anyway, it was the last night of swimming, so all the swimmers had decided that we were going to go meet on the grass field in front of the Olympic rings, where everyone gets the photo. And we were all there, like there was a huge group of us, and we pretty much, we're outside, so we weren't adhering to any of the COVID restrictions. I guess we can probably say it now because
no one cares anymore.
No one cares anymore. But yeah, we were all just having a good time, like someone had a speaker, we were yarning, like I was sitting next to the guy that I just raced and he got a silver medal sort of thing. And it was a good time. And then all of a sudden, like all these security guards start marching out and this like starting to surround us. It was like we were about to get like arrested, and then like everyone's like, oh crap, like we're going to get in trouble here. So it was like disperse of athletes as these security guards tried to surround us to get us out. But yeah, that was probably one of my like most memorable stories. Yeah.
Oh my god! And then and you struggled to walk, you said so.
Yeah, it was blurred vision a little bit, trying to get out.
Yeah, well, I can see why you wanted to do that, because you guys were well aware that you were on a flight the next day coming back to New Zealand to spend 2 weeks in individual hotel rooms. So after going through an experience like that with the Olympics, I can understand why you'd want to let off a little bit of steam.
Yeah.
What was the other story? The one that you self-censored on? Or?
It was just the plane ride home.
Oh yeah.
You might have heard.
No, heard nothing.
It was just like a good time. I was up in business class because I'd actually, how they work the plane, because it's a charter plane, so we're the only ones on the plane, the Olympians. And because of COVID, there was like 3 different planes or whatever, because we all had to just like leave as soon as we finished competing. One of the rugby boys came back and was like, oh, do you want to trade seats? Because I just want to sit with my boys. So I got to trade seats with him and get business class.
He was in economy or premium economy, and
I was in premium economy because it's lottery. So you find out your seat when you go get your ticket at the reception or whatever you get your ticket from. And yeah, like I was up in business class and just living the dream. Yeah, me and 2 of my mates, Zach Reed and Erica Fairweather, they're just like having the best time. I remember at some point the pilot was sitting on the end of my seat and we were having a yarn, and I was like, who's flying the bloody plane? But yeah, like it was such a cool flight, and because it was like just us, just the athletes, we just had a ball, and we could just sort of like unload the last 2 weeks of competition. Yeah.
That's a cool story. There was no scandal, nothing that came out about it.
No.
Was there something that I missed?
There was like one article that was like, oh, athletes go crazy on the plane. But like it was humble. Like it was really just like a good time. Like I was in business class. There was only like 20 other people up there. But, we were all just yarning, having a good time. We had a few photos with a few gold medals rolling around from the rowing. And like it was like such a cool experience, just like having that moment where you're stuck in the air for 9 hours with all the other athletes.
Yeah, that's amazing. And were you happy with your results at those games, given it was your first Olympics and you're still you made 2 finals, didn't you?
Yeah. I think overall, like I'm really happy. I went into I got second out of the heats going into the final, so I was essentially ranked second, and I completely bombed the final. So I believe I should have been on the podium, but I just didn't swim very well in the final. And honestly, for probably 2 years, I couldn't watch the race because I was that disappointed in myself. But now looking back on it, like it was a moment in time that, I fucked up, and we just have to move on, and we had to figure out ways that I didn't fuck up again. Yeah.
The way you phrase it, I don't reckon you've moved on.
Yeah, honestly, probably not. But I've at least,
do you do that? You like self critique, self analyze, beat yourself up a bit after these things?
Yeah, I was actually listening to your Mark Richardson podcast, and I've probably pretty similar to him, but maybe not on the extreme. But like in training, like I remember those moments and I try to fix them. Yeah.
So you use it as fuel.
Yeah, more fuel than anything else. Yeah.
And in a sense, I guess those Olympics. I mean, you were very young at the time. It sort of takes the unknown out of the Paris Games, where you're potentially a real shot at medaling. So it's not the big scary Olympics anymore. You're not a first timer. You know what I mean? Is that?
Yeah, 100%. Like I'm going in, I know my body more now. Like one of the biggest issues for me was like it was the morning final. So we would have the heat at night and then we'd have to go to sleep and then wake up the next morning and do the final. And I didn't have a proper protocol with racing in the morning. I've got quite bad asthma, and it's more like exercise-induced asthma. So I didn't have a protocol back then to actually be able to handle or understand like how I could get through. And now moving on 3 years, I've got that routine that that I do that allows me to actually swim really well in the morning now. Yeah.
And in Paris, if there's like a massive line to get some free Asics, you'd be like, nah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Got them already. Yeah. I'm just going to rest up. Okay, so after that came the most recent Commonwealth Games. These were the Birmingham ones. They were 2022. Okay, so that was like a year and a half ago. And you cleaned up, right? A bronze medal and 2 golds.
Yeah.
Just insane.
That was pretty sweet. I think
everything went right.
Not really, to be honest. Like we'd had the World Championships like just under a month beforehand, and I got food poisoning, lost 3 or 4 kilos, and then pretty much had to spend the next month trying to put that weight back on, and it also. This is another cool drunken story. I ended up in the gutter after that, like from having a really good night out in the town, and I'd fallen down the stairs on a boat and I'd really hurt my tailbone, and I couldn't do breaststroke for like 3 of the 4 weeks leading into the Com Games. But obviously it didn't really matter because I'd done a personal best time and all that sort of stuff at the end. But it was a moment where the team manager, Swimming New Zealand, was really pissed at me. Like I'd fucked up. And I'd accept that I probably shouldn't have, whatever I did, I shouldn't have done. But yeah, it sort of like was that moment where it's like, I just made me more hungry to make sure that I'd fixed what I'd done wrong. And
I almost overcompensate to put it right. But these stories are really pleasing to hear, because I'd hate to think that your life is just, even though it's the life you've chosen for yourself, is just, swimming for a few hours in the morning, having a nap, swimming again in the afternoon, rinse and repeat for 4 years without any sort of social life. So the fact that you are, I don't know, letting your hair down a little bit from time to time, I think, it's a good thing. You want to have some sort of sense of a normal life, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, and probably the stories that I'm telling you are like the drunken stories that probably makes me sound like an alcoholic, but like to me,
it sounds like you're just like a very, very normal, guy in his early 20s.
Yeah, like we have fun, and I mean, I've got the recipe that if I'm having fun, then I'm swimming fast. Yeah. And, that is literally my recipe for success for me. I think another thing that's probably worth mentioning, not that I want to put words in your mouth, but it's like most guys your age have probably got a story like this from every couple of weekends. And it probably involves some ketamine or some MD or whatever else. The fact that I feel like you've told me just about every drunken story you've got. Pretty much, yeah. I've maybe got 1 or 2 more, but that's,
Part 2. Okay, so those games were good. Did life change after that at all? You said you thought after the Gold Coast Games when you won the bronze medal, you thought things were going to change. Did life change after that? 2 golds and a bronze?
Yes, actually quite a lot. I mean, I thought that it was going to open more doors for me, and it did. It brought in a lot of opportunities, like I'm working with Forsyth Bar, and there's a few opportunities that I got from it, but also it closed a lot of doors.
How so?
Eyeballs. So I had a lot more eyeballs on me straight after those games, and I felt like I was under the spotlight during, certain situations. And
So you can't get drunk on boats anymore?
yeah,
Is that what you mean? Or?
No, like in terms of, this is like restrictions around what I can do and what I can't do. Like I would come to the pool and it would be, no, you can't do that because there's people watching. And if you do that, then everyone else is going to want to have to do that, and it's going to be a nightmare. So I had essentially like I came back from there, and I couldn't train like I normally would train. Yeah, and it was tough. Yeah.
Is that where the problem started with the Wellington situation?
For sure. Okay. Yeah, it sort of amplified it. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we sort of alluded to that a couple of times, and there's probably some people listening that have no clue what we're talking about. But the reason you're sitting here today in my podcast studio in Auckland is because you've recently moved from Wellington, where you had a very sad breakup by all accounts with your coach Gary Hollywood, who's been coaching you since you were 16. So he's been there through all these events we've talked about. You finishing school, you getting that first bronze, you going to the Olympics. He didn't go to the Olympics with you, he wouldn't have been allowed?
No, he did, yeah.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
So he was there, he was at the Gold Coast with you when you won every sort of main swimming achievement that you've had. He's been by your side. And then you reached the tough decision of having to leave Wellington and him, and he's got a family in Wellington. How was that? Was he sort of pushing you to leave? I mean, you had to leave, and we'll get to the ins and outs of that soon. But it was devastating, like a relationship breakup for both of you guys.
Yeah, it was tough, and I mean, Gary was the guy that put me on the map, right? Like he was the guy that turned me into me. He's so knowledgeable in the world of swimming, and like he was the guy that I would go to and just be like, so what do I do in this situation? And he would just tell me. Slightly crazy. All coaches have to be slightly crazy, slightly inhumane. They'd give you sets that you'd look at and you'd be like, what the hell am I going to do? This is tough. And he worked me like a workhorse. And it was good, it's made me the person I am today, but it got to the point, that it was no longer workhorse. There was too many distractions where I was, so like I had to make the decision. He was like, he still wanted to keep he still wanted me to stay. He thought that it would come right, but I thought there wasn't enough time to go through this process. We'd been through it 3 times of something would happen and I'd get pissed off because I could no longer swim like I would want to swim. And so it was the point where I was like, right, stuff this, like I'm gone. And so he couldn't move with me, right? He's got a kid and a wife and a house. I had a bit more flexibility, I guess.
Yeah, it's got to be hard because there's a lot of coach-athlete relationships that end, on sort of bad terms, but this is most definitely not one of them. I read an article and it sounds like he was like heartbroken by the split.
Yeah, I think what hurts him more than me, right? Like I continue my journey, I guess, whereas his only job was to coach me. Like he was employed by Swimming New Zealand just to coach me, and if I left, then he loses his job. So he essentially lost his job. He was able to sneak back into club coaching, and I'm sure he probably won't have an issue getting jobs anymore just with the talent that he is. But yeah, like it's his dream as well, right? Like he sacrificed a lot to be a part of this journey with me. And yeah, it's sort of the way it ended was tough, but yeah, like I think we both understand. Yeah,
there's an analogy I like to use. It's like climbing a tree. So you get to a branch and then you hang to that branch for a bit, then you want to climb to the next branch, and I suppose that's just the natural progression in the Lewis Clareburt story. It's like you just sort of outgrew that pond, which was Wellington and Gary, and you had to move on to the next thing. Did he message you after Doha? He's still in touch?
Yeah. If the people that know Gary know that he is like the worst person ever to try get in touch with. So any message you get from him is like, wow, that is insane. So he did message me, and I was like, cheers, Gaz, mate, like you're a bloody legend. But yeah, like if you know him, you know that he's just like, he's a man of very few words on
Like
online.
in terms of compliments and stuff.
Yeah, like if you
Wow.
get a compliment from him, you must have done something bloody well. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yes. So what was the story with Wellington? So I read a bunch of articles about this, knowing that you were coming up. I saw, because when it happened, I think that's when I first reached out to you, knowing you were moving to Auckland. So there was a little piece on the news which I saw, but I went into a deep dive in the last couple of days reading articles, and the whole thing just seems farcical, like actually embarrassing for New Zealand in a way. And the fact that you've done so well so far, in spite of all this side shit that's been going on, incredible. It's incredible. So what happened? So you were swimming at a Wellington City Council pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we, there's not many private pools in New Zealand at all. There's probably 2 or 3, and the 2 that are in New Zealand I'm training at right now. So it's their pool, they own it, they own the rules, they do what they want, essentially. And we try to influence them as much as we can. And I mean, we learn a lot over, every time we go away, we come back with new ideas or innovations that we want to implement. And there's things that as a swimmer, especially a competitive swimmer, you require. So that's lane space. You don't want to be swimming with 8 people or little kids or whatever. So, we had a deal with the council that, would allow us to do that. And I guess the simplest way to explain it is like it just ended up being too tough. Like
By the way, from what you've explained, it sounds like a very, very reasonable request.
Yeah. Yeah. And for the most part, we got it. We did pretty well with what we had in Wellington. There's one major pool in the whole city. And we were in there training next to God knows how many different sports, and we pretty much got what we needed. Not maybe what we wanted, but what we needed. But yeah, like I said, it just got really tough and it got quite political. And like I said before, when you got eyes on you, like there was some serious eyes on me doing my day-to-day business. Like sometimes I would be swimming and there'd be someone standing up in the stands, like waiting for a wrong move for me to do something wrong. And it just got so toxic that I was like, yeah, like this, I just can't be here and do my job. Yeah.
Do you feel like that's tall poppy syndrome in a way? Like
Yes.
a victim of, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like, I mean, I think it's in every sport some way or the other. And I'm probably, like, I get jealous of when people compete really well and it's not me. But that's just because probably more of my competitive spirit. But yeah, like there was a part of that, and I think it was in other swimmers as well. Like if you see me doing well, you want to do what I'm doing, right? And so there was another club that was formed that was essentially trying to take off what we were doing, and a coach that was really pushing to get me out and Gary out. He despised both of us.
Oh, now I read an article. Is this the coach that complained about the music?
Yeah.
So what's the story? It sounds like you had your own UE boom and were playing some music, and he was like, "It's not a rave."
Yeah. So if you follow me on Instagram, I've got this message group chat called the 6 a.m. Club, and it was at 6 a.m. when this guy came up and he was like, "You can't be playing that. It's not a rave." And I was essentially like, "Fuck you!" Like, we're listening to music no matter what, because like I'm not here to fall asleep in the morning sort of thing. Like I'm working. This is my work hours. So and I didn't want to stop playing music. Everyone listens to music when they're working out. But yeah, I just pretty much told him to piss off. And that was when it's like, I try to explain it as like, what is it? So it's gone out of my head now. There's passion, and my passion was so strong for this that nobody was going to stop me from doing it, because I knew that it was going to make me successful. And if someone got in the way from me doing that, like I go from nice guy Lewis to piss off, like they're like, you're not my mate anymore sort of thing. So yeah, like I have a lot of passion for swimming and success, and that was my formula. And yeah, there was no way not some random guy was going to stop me from doing something that I thought was going to help me.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. I've been banging on about this in podcasts recently, just because it's one of the most recent books I've read. There's a guy called Tim Grover who's like a personal trainer and mental skills coach of the NBA, and he just talks about the guys he's worked with, LeBron, MJ, Kobe, and they're all assholes. Like they work themselves harder than anyone else, but they just have this sort of tunnel vision. It's amazing. I think it's necessary. But so when did all this go down? Like November, October? No, when?
So the actual like altercation happened like years ago.
Okay.
I think.
So it's been festering.
Well, I guess nothing would have happened unless this probably wouldn't have risen again. That whatever happened, but because I left and all the other stuff blew up about the council. This guy's in Canada. Like, he's not even in the country anymore. He obviously didn't like me that much. That he
had to get that far away to avoid your playlist.
Yeah, but he's that far away, and he still wanted to talk about me. So obviously he didn't like me that much that I'd caused that much of a trouble for him. But yeah, like you're saying, like sometimes we do have tunnel vision, and I see myself as like one of the nicest people ever. Or like I see myself as a nice guy, but like if you're trying to undermine what I'm trying to do, then like you're going to hear about it for sure. Yeah.
Well, this whole sideshow, I think it makes what's happened in Doha even more remarkable. And like you've had a build up that none of your competitors had. It's crazy to think that. So you uprooted your life, moved to a new city, had to like get your head down with a new coach, new swim team, and basically sort of reset and start again and build on what you've had. And you've done so well, and it's paying dividends already.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a journey for sure the last 6 months, like you said, moving up here, having to restart my life. I pretty much packed up a ute full of my stuff. So I left most of it in Wellington. I'm living in an apartment that's 99% empty. I've got just the basics up here right now. But yeah, like it has been a journey, and I was lucky that I had Doha World Championships to actually have that first sort of test and I guess update to see where I'm at, especially with my relationship with my new coach and my team and how that training is paying off, or if it was paying off. And so it did make me a little bit nervous going into sort of the Doha, the competition, where I was like, well, I don't really know where I'm at, if I'm doing well or I'm not doing well. I knew I was swimming fast because we'd done usually do some time trials and stuff like that, and I'd pushed some really good times just before the competition, so I knew I was ready, but you never really know until you know, and that's when you race.
Oh, how good. And so Paris, what would a successful Olympic campaign look like?
Good question. I actually got asked that the other day, yesterday to be fair, and I think the most important thing would be I'm happy. I'm happy to be there. I'm excited to race. I'm having a good time. And then obviously the next thing would be I just want to be able to swim fast, right? Like that's ultimately why I'm going. I just want to go there and swim fast. To be on the podium would be even more awesome. I think it's definitely on the table. But yeah, just got to swim fast. Yeah.
Is it an expectation even after the world champs?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, maybe for New Zealand they see that he's won a world championship gold medal, that it should translate into Olympic gold medal. But nah, I don't think so. I feel like now I've got to a point in my life where I'm just like happy to just swim and try swim fast, and that's not whether that's medals or not. A medal's always nice, and it's like probably it's the reason we do the sport, right, is to get on the podium. But I just want to be able to swim fast and swim without restrictions. Yeah.
Yeah. God, you seem really good at blocking out that external pressure, that external noise.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I if you talked to me 3 years ago, probably not, but I think
Maturity, right?
Yeah, mature. I think I'm really just like in a happy place right now for me. Yeah.
You're just always too tired.
Too tired to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you? How are you with reading stuff online about yourself? Do you read everything, or do you consciously try and avoid reading about yourself? I mean, it's got to be hard to do when things are going really well.
Yeah, I mean, when you open your social media or whatever, you know, a lot of time it's the first thing you see because of your bloody algorithms these days. But yeah, I'm mixed. I think I sometimes chuckle at some of the stuff I'm reading. Like I think one of the news stories that I read that someone sent me as well was like Lewis Clareburt. His best part of the medley was the breaststroke, and that's like my worst stroke. But they'd said that because I'd caught up in the breaststroke, and
right.
So sometimes I laugh. I'm like, haha, like if only they knew.
Yeah.
But yeah, I read some. I quite enjoy sometimes reading it, especially when you're swimming well. You know, it gives you a bit of that boost. But when you're not doing so well, you just hope there's not too much negative stuff. But I think generally I've only really had good stuff, which is cool.
So I've had Lisa Carrington on the podcast, Dame Lisa Carrington. She said during like Olympic campaigns and stuff, she avoids all social media, stays offline altogether because she just doesn't need the additional pressure and stuff. Well, do you have any sort of plan or strategy for Paris?
I think this year I'll probably delete the apps off my phone.
Not TikTok. We need you, Lewis.
Yeah, maybe not. Honestly, I'll probably stay on TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't really done much posting since Tokyo, to be honest, on TikTok. It's a bloody hard app to crack. But yeah, I'll probably delete like a lot of those purely the messaging apps. Yeah, so it is really tough to. I mean, it's awesome how much support we get while we're away, but it's really tough to reply to everyone. So I think I'll probably delete or at least mute the apps just so that I can just either just post without restrictions and just not have to reply to people. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of social media, I put on Instagram that you were coming over and I asked if anyone had any questions. There were a few. Cool. Actually, a few comments as well. Is it Ali, your sister?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She said no question, just a proud sister, which is really cool. And 2 cousins as well.
Oh,
Two
sweet.
cousins message. Yeah. Everyone seems to be rooting for you.
Yeah.
Be really proud of the success, which I think says a lot about you in a way.
Yeah, I think I love my family and
you're tight.
Yeah, we're super close, and it has been tough not being in Wellington with them, especially because I used to have dinner at my parents, even though I didn't live with my parents. I used to have dinner at my parents every single night, and so mum.
Really? How far away did you live?
Oh, only like 10 minutes. Oh, yeah, less than that. So I used to see them every day. Yeah.
Right. Do you drop off like a basket of washing or anything? Or
sometimes, sometimes. Yeah, that shit. Mum's a legend, you know. Like, and
I think
Dad,
mums love that. It feels like they're still mumming in a way.
Yeah, she probably misses it a little bit. I mean, she still actually sends up bacon and egg pie for me. That's how much she probably misses it. Yeah, so I just had a bacon and egg pie last week sent up to me, so it was pretty cool.
And are they going to Paris? Who's going to Paris?
Yeah, they all are.
Yeah.
So they'll be there. Tickets were like $1,000 a pop for each event.
What do you get? You get any free tickets?
Nothing. Yeah, we get nothing. I mean, if I make the final, they get the right to purchase 1 ticket, I think. But they still have to buy it. Yeah. So it's not like, the rugby where the players sometimes can give away tickets. Yeah, we don't get any of that, unfortunately. Yeah.
You can shout them with your salary from High Performance Sport New Zealand.
Yeah.
Millions.
Yeah. Quadruple figures or whatever it is. Yeah.
All right. Some of these questions. What advice would you give to young athletes who look up to you?
Have fun. Pick something that you're enjoying. Not necessarily what you're good at, because I think if you're having fun, then you'll get good at it. And be consistent and set goals. Yeah, like if you find that recipe where, you're constantly trying to improve, then, if you're always improving, then you're going to be a world champion, right? So, yeah, just have fun and keep setting those goals.
When you're not training or competing, what are your favourite ways to relax and unwind?
Sleeping, eating, and gaming. Yeah. I haven't gamed a whole lot in the last couple of years, especially since I was living with my girlfriend in Wellington. But now that I'm not living with my girlfriend, gaming is back on the radar for me, which is quite nice.
Do you play with friends online, strangers online, or just one player games? Or
Yeah, I try to play with people. But a lot of my mates have girlfriends, so they're off the game as well now. So
it's not great for relationships, eh?
Yeah, no, probably not so much. But yeah, I like gaming with people and having a yarn. Yeah, it's good fun.
How do you prioritise your mental health amidst the pressure of being an elite athlete?
Still learning, not sure.
Yeah,
it's tough for sure.
It is a tough one, eh? It is a tough one. Thankfully, like you're at the point at the moment where I suppose you're not stressing about selection and things like that. Like you're just a fast track into the games. So that's one less thing to worry about. But yeah, a lot of pressure, eh?
Yeah, it is. I mean, like I was saying before, like a lot of your funding and all that sort of stuff is based on 1 or 2 competitions a year. So it can be quite stressful, even just making, those competitions. But I think for me, I'm like you said, in a position where, I've been making the competitions year after year, and the qualifying time is like I'm quite beyond that. So I think for a fringe athlete, it's worse because first of all, you're not getting any funding, and you're sometimes making the teams, and sometimes you're not making the team. So like I'm in a lucky position where I've been getting that for a few years now. Yeah.
By the way, this high performance sport funding, even the top tier stuff, it's not great money, is it?
No,
it's not exceptional money. Like it's you're barely sort of scraping by, aren't you?
Yeah, I think if we're talking actual numbers, if you're an Olympic gold medalist, you're earning $60,000 a year. Yeah, so that's average wage for someone that's working class. Yeah.
Yeah, like starting wage for a cop.
Yeah.
So did you finish your degree? You were doing a commerce degree at Vic. Have you finished that? Or
4 more papers left.
Wow.
So I'm not studying this year, but yeah, I definitely want to finish it off at some point. But yeah, I've got 4 more papers left.
Yeah, and you were interning at Forsyth Bar, and they've sort of been championing you a bit. So do they? What do they do? They throw some money your way, or?
Yeah, like I'm technically an employee of Forsyth Bar, and they've been awesome. I've essentially, how I'm seeing it is eventually, hopefully, maybe I'll be able to properly integrate into the business after I finish swimming. But yeah, at the moment, I'm just sort of doing bits and bobs. I do a few events for them, as many as I can. But yeah, like they're such an awesome, organisation to work with. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. It's really pleasing when you hear about companies like that, like getting in behind athletes and stuff. It's really cool because you sort of rely on it, don't you? You need it.
Yeah, for sure. And I've got a couple really good ones that I work with. Fusion 5 as well. They're a business solutions, like IT, a little bit IT company, and there's a lady, Rebecca Tohall, who just like loves swimming, and she's been my biggest supporter since I started swimming competitively and internationally in 2016, 2017. So she's been with me that long, so it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's neat. Oh, thanks for giving them a shout out.
Yeah,
they deserve it.
There you go.
Someone wanted to know on Instagram, is it true that you have a daily pie for breakfast?
I actually got caught right before I went to the Doha Games, Doha World Champs, at the Z station getting a pie and a coffee. But that was mostly because I ran out of food, so I needed to eat something. Yeah.
Oh, so it happened once, and suddenly you're the pie guy.
No, it happened 3 times, but yeah. But I got caught once. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. What sort of pie?
It was butter chicken pie.
Butter chicken pie. Oh, controversial before a swim, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't have the side effects that you probably thought, but it was good. I did enjoy it, but yeah, a little bit controversial.
Speaking of side effects with a butter chicken pie, similar question to that from someone on Instagram. Do you pee in the pool?
No comment, because either answer I give, I'll get in trouble. Yeah, but I will say,
I think people can make their own minds up. If you're swimming 21 Ks, it's not practical to get in and out of the pool every.
Yeah. Sometimes, especially when you're in a main set, you're not meant to get out during a main set, and sometimes they can go up to an hour a main set. So
you make your own mind up. There's plenty of chlorine in there. Come on.
Yeah.
A little bit of wee's not going to hurt.
Yeah. And I mean, for me in my event, you have to be very relaxed when you're swimming, and so one way you can test if you're relaxed is if you can pee while you're swimming.
Oh, pee while you're swimming?
Yeah. So if you're swimming, you're usually quite tense, right? But if you can pee while you're swimming, then you're relaxed.
Oh, okay. I just had this mental picture of you like you're waiting for the event to start, like at the end of the lane or something, peeing while swimming. That's some next level multitasking.
Yeah. It's difficult for sure.
And this is not a question from Instagram. This is a me question. If you fart in those togs, like does it bubble in the back or?
It does a little bit, but then when you move it pops out. And water farts are horrible. Yeah.
Okay, God, where is this interview going? We've been doing so well. Now the wheels are falling off. Okay, favourite swimming meme page?
This is probably from Swimming Memes, I'm going to guess. Swimming Memes is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Instagram page called Swimming Memes, actually a New Zealand guy, and they're pretty viral in the swimming community. Favourite Instagram page is a guy called Carl Sockwell, though, and he's an American guy. He loves me, eh? I mean, I don't know if he loves me, but
he gives you a lot of like reposts or
nah, not necessarily that, but like he pinned my comment one time, and I was like, "This is the best thing ever." Yeah.
If you could compete against any swimmer, past or present, who would it be and why?
Ryan Lochte.
Oh, the American guy.
The American guy.
Weird dude, eh? Ran about the same time as Phelps.
Yeah.
Didn't he? There's something happened, some scandal, like he pretended he got robbed at a service station and it was made up? Or?
He was very, controversial guy. But he would have been the Michael Phelps if Michael Phelps wasn't there. Yeah. Like, he was breaking all the records, but they'd already been broken from Phelps sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was a really, really good, legit swimmer.
Yeah. He was unreal. And he was just like a funny dude. He had his own TV show.
He had a reality show, that's right, for a season.
Yeah.
But he was sort of, people sort of took the piss out of him a bit, right?
Yeah. Like, they say he's just like, nothing going on upstairs, like he's dumb, but he was funny. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Why him?
I reckon just because he was a legend. Like he brought like the coolness to swimming. I reckon like he would get up on the podium and he'd have a diamond gold grill sort of thing. Like he just brought the fun back sort of thing. Yeah.
What is the harshest criticism you've received in your career?
Probably when I was in year 10 at school, my teacher said to me, "You're never going to make anything from swimming, like it's an amateur sport." Yeah, and I was like, look at me today. Maybe not making money, but yeah, look at me today, yeah.
Have you been back to that school, like for a speech at assembly or anything?
Yeah, my old school, I love that school. Right. Yeah. It was just like their one teacher. But he's still a legend, but I just thought it was funny looking back on it now.
Well, because you've got that relationship and you think he's a legend, have you been like,
Nah, I haven't seen him like since I don't think he's teaching at school anymore, but he's probably like laughing right now.
Yeah. So you're not really a I told you so guy?
Nah, not so much. Nah.
Yeah. How do you envisage your life and career after retiring from competitive swimming? Forsyth Bar.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah. It's nice that, by the way, it's really refreshing and nice that you're thinking about that already.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there was a story of the marathon runner that came out and he was trying to extend his career and he was taking drugs to extend it because he didn't have anything after it. The Kiwi runner, I can't remember his name. And it sort of solidifies, I think, plan B. You know, every athlete has to have a plan B, and that's why I was studying, and having the Forsyth Bar opportunity come up was pretty cool as well.
Yeah. Oh, that was Zane Robertson, by the way. Had him on the podcast as well.
Yeah, that's right. I think I listened to it.
Chat.
Yeah, it's tough.
Bloody sad.
Yeah,
it's bloody sad. But it's I mean, he was a runner. Like he was bloody good. Like he could turn up to any marathon in New Zealand on any weekend and he'd win it. But the difference between being that good and being like Eliud Kipchoge world record good, like, you know, being New Zealand good, you're never going to make the podium of a marathon. It's tough. It's a hard fucking sport.
Yeah.
What goes through your mind when you're on the starting blocks?
Nothing. I call it like flow state. Yeah, I'm not much a meditator. I take my bike out to do my meditation, but I call it flow state, just like this is just like where I'm relaxed and I'm just ready to do what I do every single day. Yeah, so not thinking at all.
And then when you're swimming in a race, you're just thinking of the stroke and how your technique?
Yeah, just doing the little things right, making sure I'm just doing what I practice every single day, not thinking too much and trying to beat the guy next to me, I guess.
And what about when you're training? Like you mentioned, it's Tuesday today. You've got a training session after this. You've already swam 21Ks this week. When you're doing those long training sessions, are you thinking about other stuff?
honestly, you think about everything under the sun.
Right.
Yeah, but also like I have to count my laps, so it's hard to do two things at once. So it's a bit of a mixture of both, trying to count, trying to figure out timing when you're leaving on stuff. But yeah, like I think about a lot during a swim session for sure.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of if I like when I'm running, I can think about anything. I can go out for a 10K run and have complex problems in my life that I can solve on that time.
Yeah.
But if I was swimming, I'd need to be thinking about what I'm doing. But I suppose, the amount you're doing, it's just something you could do literally in your sleep.
Yeah, it's probably like you running. Yeah.
Couple more from Instagram. Actually, kind of serious ones to finish with. If you could go back and change one decision in your life, what would it be? Leave Wellington sooner?
Potentially. No, I think it probably made me the swimmer that I am today. It made me tough. One thing, I could have gone to America and done the college system. I'm not sure how it would have turned out. There was a lot of unknowns there for me. I don't know. Not sure.
Yeah. Biggest adversity you've faced?
Good question. Probably the moment where I didn't do well in the 400 AM final in Tokyo, where I was like, fuck this, I don't want to look at the water anymore. And I had to get back in the next day because I had a 200 AM to do. And it was a moment where I was like at the lowest point, but also had to switch off and turn it on again. Yeah, it was tough.
God, how do you do that? Just out of necessity?
Pretty much, yeah. I got a message from Moss Burmester, who's a pre-handed.
Yeah, legend.
Yeah, legend swimming.
He was. I've read. He was like one of your sort of inspirations or idols growing up.
Yeah, for sure. And he was like, well, he did his 200 butterfly at the Beijing Olympics, and he had the 100 butterfly to go, but he sort of wrote it off and didn't swim as well as he could have. And he said to me like, look, you gotta get back on the horse sort of thing, because you don't want to be like, do what I did. And I sort of had to make the best of the opportunity. Yeah. And I was happy with how I performed in the 200 AM after that. Yeah.
And I suppose it's good for future events to know that you reset, park a disappointment and move on so quickly.
Yeah, for sure. I did it in Doha. I was bloody disappointed that I didn't qualify for the Olympics there, in the other two events, but I had to park it and move on to the next one. Yeah.
And last one, when was the last time you cried?
Probably not that long ago. Cried of happiness, to be honest. It was probably when I moved up to Auckland and I sort of got into my routine. I was just like so happy that like I'd made the decision. Yeah.
It's amazing. When you said tears of happiness, I was just thinking, my mind went immediately to the world champs in Doha.
Yeah.
No, really, that's right. So, well, I suppose you had so much like anxiety and nerves about what am I doing? Am I doing the right thing? So then I suppose when you have the moment where it's like, oh yeah, everything's sort of clicking into place, and it just sort of reaffirms that you did do the right thing.
Yeah.
Is that what it was, or was it just because you were actually so tired from swimming so much?
Yeah, probably. Just so tired. Yeah, that happens as well, actually.
Yeah. Oh, hey, mate, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you making the time and being so generous with your time, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the year, not just the year, but what the future brings you as well. Yeah, bloody great. So the swimming after this, what's the afternoon session?
Not sure. I'll probably find out 2 minutes before I hop in, but...
You must have like an inkling, an idea?
I've been told it's a breaststroke technique-based set, maybe with a bit of fast stuff, but yeah, it's... hopefully recovery, because it's been pretty tough so far this week. Yeah.
Oh God. Hey, good luck, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thanks, Lewis.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.